Hello, Elizabeth here, and today I'm going to show you 6 different ideas for themed Christmas party snacks. These are all delicious and pretty easy to make. I've served every one of these to my friends and all 6 have had great reviews. I'm going to walk you through each one step by step. Number 1 is this Crostini Christmas tree appetizer. For this recipe, start with a French-style baguette and slice it into 1-inch slices. Lay the slices on a pan and broil in the oven for a few minutes on each side until they are golden and crispy. For the toppings, I sliced baby tomatoes and mini bocconcini balls in half and prepared some store-bought pesto. I also cut a piece of mozzarella cheese into a star for the top of the tree, which I find easiest by sketching out with a toothpick before cutting. I also prepared some fresh basil leaves by washing them and removing them from their stems. Once all of those ingredients are ready, you can start assembling your Christmas tree on whatever serving platter you have. The mozzarella star goes at the top of your tree, and then you can work your way down the platter arranging your pieces of crostini, topping each one with pesto, and placing your tomato and bocconcini ornaments right on top, filling in any of the empty spaces between the crostini with your basil leaves. This one is best to make pretty close to the time you plan to serve it so that the pesto doesn't make the bread too soggy. And here is the final result. Number 2 is this Pillsbury sugar cookie Christmas cheesecake. Line a springform pan with some parchment paper. I like to fold it up and cut it into a circular shape. Next, fill the bottom of the pan with Pillsbury sugar cookies. You can place them even closer together than I did because I did have some small gaps after baking. Then, bake according to the package instructions and allow the cookie crust to cool completely. You can also bake some extra cookies for decorating the top of the cheesecake later. Next, make your favorite no-bake cheesecake filling. You can use any filling recipe you like, but I'll walk you through the one that I used. First, whip 2 cups of heavy cream until they reach stiff peaks. Be careful not to over-whip because at some point you will turn it into butter. It should be nice and thick and not really drip off your whisk when you pick it up like this. Next, in a separate bowl, you'll need 2 8-ounce bricks of cream cheese softened to room temperature. Sift in 2 cups of powdered sugar and mix that together with a hand mixer until combined. Then gradually add the whipped cream into the bowl and mix it in with the cream cheese mixture on a low speed until everything is well combined. And finally, add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and do one final mix. Once your filling is made, you can plop almost all of your filling on top of your cooled cookie crust and smooth it out nice and flat. Then scoop some piles of the remaining filling around the edge of the cake to top with those extra decoration cookies we baked earlier. You can pipe this instead for a fancier result, but it's covered by the cookie anyway, so it's not really necessary to make your cake look nice. You can also add some sprinkles or any other decorations you like. Finally, you need to let it set fully in the fridge for several hours. I would say at least 5 hours, so that it becomes a solid sliceable texture. Then set the cake free and serve. Number 3 are these puff pastry pizza Christmas tree appetizers. For these, I used star toothpicks, which you can find an Amazon link for in the description of this video. Start by thawing some store-bought puff pastry according to the package instructions. Usually, puff pastry comes sectioned into 2 servings. You can either use both or just use one and cut it in half for fewer portions. Lay out 1/2 of your thawed pastry on a cutting board, and then top it like a pizza with whatever ingredients you like. I used tomato sauce, cheese, and pepperoni, but you could also do this with pesto or garlic butter and any other toppings you prefer. Once your toppings are all set, lay the second half of your thawed pastry right on top of the first one, lining up the edges as close as possible. Then use a pizza cutter to cut the pastry into long strips. You're going to fold each strip into a squiggle, making each folded layer a little bit shorter so that it's triangular in shape like a Christmas tree. Then shove your star toothpick through it so that the star is at the top of the triangle shape. Repeat this with all of your pizza strips to create a bunch of little Christmas trees. Lay the trees out on a baking sheet, and then you can brush them with butter or spray them with some cooking spray to help crisp them up in the oven. Then bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 to 20 minutes. And the final result is these delightfully flaky pizza Christmas trees. Number 4 are these star-shaped chocolate hazelnut pastries. This one is great if you have some leftover puff pastry from another recipe. I had one slab of puff pastry left over, so I thawed it in the fridge and then rolled it out nice and flat. I used a pizza cutter to cut it into 2 equal halves. I laid out the first half and covered it with a layer of chocolate hazelnut spread, but you can do any sort of spread or filling you like. You can even make this one savory if you want to. Then lay the other half of the puff pastry right on top like we did with the pizza trees. And now you can take any sort of cookie cutter you've got and cut little shapes out of the pastry layers. I used a star-shaped cutter. Then you can lay those out on a baking sheet, and again you can brush them with butter or cooking spray and pop in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 20 minutes until they're golden and crispy. This leftover pastry does not need to go to waste. You can cut it up and simply twist it with your fingers into little balls or long twisted ropes and bake them exactly like the others. When everything comes out of the oven, you can dust it with a little powdered sugar and you've got a super easy and festive little treat to eat. And yes, I know the excess pastry knots look like little piles of poop, but if you dust them with sugar, they look like little piles of poop covered in snow, which is very festive, so don't even worry about it. Number 5 is probably my personal favorite, which is this adorable snowman cheese ball appetizer. For this, you'll need a large wheel of some sort of spreadable cheese. I'm using boursin. Divide it into 2 slightly uneven halves. You just want one half to be a little bigger than the other. Then use some plastic wrap to shape each half into a ball shape. Wrap them up tight and pop them into the fridge for a while to set. Next, you want to grate some light colored cheese. I just used some mozzarella. I used my rotary grater for this, which makes really tiny little cheese shavings, and that's the perfect texture for what we're going to do with it. When your cheese balls are set, you can take them out of their plastic and then use that shredded mozzarella to fully coat the outside of each of the balls. This gives it a fluffy, snowy look and also helps to cover up the green herb flakes so that the outside looks more white. Next, you can take a carrot or an orange bell pepper and cut a tiny little triangle shape to act as the snowman's carrot nose. And then use some whole black peppercorns to create the eyes and the mouth and the buttons down the body of the snowman on your 2 balls. Stack the balls on top of each other on a serving platter and surround with crackers or veggies, and that's it. Isn't he the cutest? I love him. And lastly, number 6 is these chocolate-covered Christmas tree brownies. For this recipe, you'll need a silicone baking pan. I linked this Christmas tree one in the description below, but you could also do this with any other shaped pan besides a Christmas tree. Start by preparing some brownie mix according to the package instructions, or you can make your favorite homemade recipe, and fill your silicone tray with the brownie mix. Bake in the oven according to the package instructions. I filled mine pretty much to the top, and they do expand a bit in the oven, but then they sink again under their own weight. I let them cool and then trimmed off the excess. And then I popped them in the freezer to solidify before taking them out of the silicone pan so that they would retain that Christmas tree shape and not get smushed. Then I stuck them back in the freezer in a container to stay cold while I did the next step. You'll need that same silicone pan again, so wash and dry it well. Next, you'll need some of these chocolate candy melts. Sometimes they're called chocolate wafers or candy wafers. Melt them according to the package instructions. I just did it in the microwave. You can buy these in every color, but my store was sold out of the green ones. So I just bought white ones, and once they were melted, I added some green food coloring, which worked just fine, but the green ones would have a bolder color. Once your chocolate is melted, you can carefully scoop it into each of the tree molds. And then get those brownies back out of the freezer and press them down into the chocolate while the chocolate is still warm and melted. Then pop the whole thing back in the freezer to set that chocolate in place. Once it's solidified, you can carefully pull each brownie out of the pan and you should have these super cute chocolate-covered Christmas tree brownies. You can absolutely stop here, but I wanted to decorate them a little bit more, so I melted some more of my white candy melts and scooped it into a Ziploc bag, cut the corner off, drizzled it over each of my brownies, and added some rainbow sprinkles right on top while it was still warm. They turned out a bit messier than I was going for, but it's fine, they're charming. Not everything needs to be perfect all the time. And there you have it, 6 snack ideas for your holiday get-togethers this season. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you enjoyed my content, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment letting me know what sort of videos you'd like to see in the future. See you later!